My name is UNTOUCHABLE.
Cinq tableaux importants du Musée d'Art Moderne ont été volés cette nuit.
Paris officials are urging museum guards to be more vigilant following this week's $100 million art heist.
In Paris, a lone thief steals 5 paintings, including major works by Picasso and Matisse. Their estimated value, more than $100 million.
$120 million. It's not just a number. It is a lifetime of luxury for you, your children, and your grandchildren. Now imagine that amount of money isn't in a bank vault. It isn't in gold bars. It isn't in digital code. Imagine it is hanging on a wall, protected by a padlock that costs 10 euros, and a security system that has been broken for 2 months. In 2010, one man looked at that wall and didn't see art. He saw an open safe. He saw the easiest payday in the history of crime. They called him the Spiderman of Paris. He didn't use explosives. He didn't use a team of hackers. He used his bare hands, a suction cup, and a set of fake screws made out of clay. In the span of 60 minutes, he pulled off the biggest art heist in French history. He turned a national museum into his personal shopping mall. But what started as the perfect crime turned into a tragedy that saw 5 masterpieces, pieces of human history worth over $100 million, vanish from the face of the earth. It isn't just a story about theft. It's a story about the staggering weight of money, the arrogance of institutions, and the man who climbed the walls to take it all. We often think of heists in the Hollywood sense. Complex lasers, pressure plates, impossible odds. But the reality of high-end crime is often much grittier and, frankly, more embarrassing for the victims. The 2010 robbery of the Musée Moderne in Paris is the ultimate example of this. It was a collision of extreme skill on the part of the robber and extreme negligence on the part of the state. But before we get into the night of the crime, we have to understand the loot. Why steal art? In the criminal underworld, art is known as frozen currency. It is the ultimate alternative to cash. If you have $10 million in cash, it's heavy, it's bulky, and dogs can smell it. If you have $10 million in the bank, the government can freeze it. But a painting? A painting is a piece of paper that weighs nothing, can be rolled into a tube, and holds its value through wars, recessions, and crashes. However, there is a catch. A catch that UNTOUCHABLE, our Spider-Man, was about to learn the hard way. You can steal the Mona Lisa, but you can't sell it. The higher the value of the art, the harder it is to liquidate. The answer lies in the specific mechanics of the black market, a shadow economy where billionaires don't ask questions and where beauty is just another form of leverage. To understand how a man walks out of a museum with 5 of the world's most famous paintings, we first have to understand the man himself. He wasn't your average burglar. He was a specialist, a vertical phantom. UNTOUCHABLE was born in Paris in 1968, but grew up in Bosnia before returning to France. By 2010, he was 42 years old. In the world of athletics, 42 is retirement age. In the world of cat burglary, it's ancient. But Tomek was a physiological anomaly. He was 6 feet 2 inches of lean muscle, a man who treated gravity as a suggestion rather than a law. Long before Parkour became a viral sensation on YouTube, Tomek was practicing it out of necessity. He didn't run on the streets, he moved above them. His method was terrifyingly simple. He targeted the ultra-wealthy apartments of Paris, the 16th arrondissement, the Golden Triangle. But the rich have a blind spot. They never look up. Tomek would scale the limestone facades of these houseman buildings. He climbed drain pipes, dug his fingers into the small crevices between stones, and pulled himself up 5, 6, 7 stories. He didn't use ropes. One slip meant death. To climb a building solo, at night, without ropes, requires a total suppression of fear. It requires a level of focus that borders on meditation. Tomek wasn't just a thief. He was an adrenaline junkie who got high on his own competence. By the late 2000s, he had been arrested multiple times. He was known to the police. They knew his style. But knowing it and catching him in the act were icky different things. He saw himself as a gentleman thief in the mold of Arsène Lupin. He didn't carry a gun. If he entered an apartment and found the owners awake, he would often just apologize and leave. But a code doesn't pay the bills, and in 2010, he was looking for a big score. He wanted something that would set him up for life. That opportunity came in the form of a whisper, a contact, a man named Jean-Michel Corvez. Corvez was an antique dealer on the surface, but beneath that veneer, he was a fence, a handler of stolen goods. He had a client. This client wanted a specific painting, not 5, just 1, a Fernand Léger, and he knew just the man to get it. We are about to get into the technical surveillance that makes this heist so unique. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the mechanics of the criminal underworld, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you aren't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next case file. The contract was set. The target was identified. But the Musée d'Art Moderne is not an apartment building. It's a fortress of culture. Or at least, it was supposed to be.
My name is UNTOUCHABLE.
The Musée d'Art Moderne de la Ville de Paris is a massive, imposing structure built for the 1937 International Exhibition. It houses over 15,000 works of art. Tomek treated the museum like any other job. He began with surveillance. For weeks, he stalked the perimeter. He wasn't looking for lasers, he was looking for human patterns. He watched the guards. He watched the cleaning crews. He watched the flow of the building. He noticed a few things immediately. First, the night security was thin. Second, the external lights were often dim or poorly placed. But his breakthrough came when he examined the windows. What he saw was a gift from the gods of theft. The window frames were held in place by screws, external screws, accessible from the outside. It was a design flaw so egregious it is almost hard to believe. It's the equivalent of putting a bank vault door on hinges that you can unscrew with a household tool. But Tomic was a professional. He knew that removing a window is noisy. He went to an art supply store. He bought modeling clay and paint. He spent hours in his apartment fashioning fake screw heads. He mixed the paint to perfectly match the rusted metal of the museum frames. Then, the night work began. 6 nights before the heist, Tomic scales the museum wall. He hovers there, clinging to the stone. He removes 1 screw, pushes a clay dummy into the hole. It looks perfect. The guards walk past that window every day. They look right at it. But they see the clay heads, and their brain registers screw. But what about the alarms? The museum did have an alarm system, but the central alarm unit had started malfunctioning 2 months prior. The staff, annoyed by the noise, had effectively disabled parts of the system or ignored it. He realized the beast was asleep. The window was prepped. The alarms were dead. The guards were complacent. The date was set for the night of May 20th, 2010. Tomic had a contract for 1 painting. Just 1. But greed is a powerful drug. "3:30 a.m. The city of Paris is silent. Vieron Tomic approaches the museum from the riverside. He is dressed in black. He carries a few tools, a glass cutter, large industrial suction cups, and a flashlight. He climbs the familiar route. He reaches the window. He attaches the suction cups to the heavy glass pane. He pulls. The clay gives way. The frame slides out. He lowers it gently, agonizingly slowly, until it rests on the terrace floor. He steps over the sill. He is inside. He freezes. This is the burglar's pause. He waits for the sirens. He waits for the floodlights. Silence. He moves. He heads for the modern art wing. He finds the painting Corvez ordered, Still Life with Candlestick by Fernand Léger. He takes it off the wall. He has fulfilled the contract. He should leave. Every second he stays is a roll of the dice. But then he looks up. Across the room he sees another painting, The Pigeon with Green Peas by Pablo Picasso. Picasso. The name alone carries a vibration of wealth. He thinks, why not? He walks over. He takes the Picasso. He sees La Pastorale by Henri Matisse. He takes it. He finds a Georges Braque. He takes it. Finally, he sees a portrait by Amedeo Modigliani. He takes it. Let's look at the value here. The Léger, the Braque, the Modigliani, the Matisse, the Picasso. These are conservative estimates. Vieron Tomic is holding roughly 100 million euros in his hands. He ties the bundle together. He creeps back to the window. Where are the guards? There are 3 of them on duty. Later, in court, their actions would be scrutinized. Did they sleep? Whatever the reason, Tomic was a ghost to them. He climbs out the window. He descends the wall. He gets to his car, a Renault parked nearby. He puts the history of modern art into the trunk. He drives away. By the time the sun rises over Paris, Vieron Tomic is sitting in his apartment, drinking coffee, looking at a Picasso that belongs to the people of France. If you're loving the storytelling here, make sure you're subscribed. The next morning, the museum opened. A guard stopped dead. He saw the empty frames leaning against the walls. The heist of the century headlines were printed before the ink was dry on the police report. But when the French police are humiliated, they get very, very efficient.
La police trouvait.
The investigation was handed to the Brigade de Répression du Banditisme, BRB. These are the heavy hitters of French law enforcement. They had a crime scene, but it was too clean. But Tomic made the classic mistake of the modern criminal. He forgot about the digital trail. The police pulled the cell tower data for the area. They looked for active signals between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. They found a signal. It didn't lead directly to Tomic. He used burner phones, but it gave them a thread. Simultaneously, they worked the human network. The description of the entry, the climbing, pointed to a very small club of specialists. Vieron Tomic's name was at the top of the list. The police played the long game. They watched and waited for months. They were hoping Tomic or Corvez would lead them to the buyer. But the deal was stalling. Corvez was furious. "I asked for 1 painting. You brought me 5. It's too hot." Corvez handed the paintings off to a third man, Jonathan Byrne, a clock expert. Byrne was the stash house. Finally, in May 2011, the police decided they couldn't wait any longer. They raided Tomic's apartment. They arrested him. Tomic was in custody, and he talked. He confessed. He told them everything. But when the police asked, "Where are the paintings?" Tomic shrugged. "I gave them to Corvez." We are now approaching the most heartbreaking part of this story, the conclusion that no one wants to believe. Jonathan Byrne was a mild-mannered man. Under the pressure of interrogation, he broke down. According to his official statement, he did the unthinkable. He claimed he took the 5 masterpieces, the Picasso, the Matisse, the Modigliani, the Braque, the Leger, and he broke the wooden stretchers. He crumpled the canvases. He walked out to the street. He threw the paintings into the trash. He claimed he watched as the compactor crushed them. He watched as 100 million euros of genius was mixed with rotting food. If his story was true, the paintings were ash. The art world refused to believe it. Investigators were skeptical too. Destroying the loot is the ultimate taboo. Many detectives believe Byrne was lying. If he says they are destroyed, the police stop looking. He serves his time, and when he gets out, the paintings are waiting for him. The trial took place in 2017. Vieron Tomic expressed regret, not for the theft, but for the loss of the art. He called Byrne a monster. Tomic was sentenced to 8 years. Corvez got 7 years. Byrne got Alta years. But the judge added a final blow, a fine of 104 million euros. None of these men have that money. It was a symbolic way of putting a price tag on the loss. The 5 paintings are listed on the Interpol database. Are they truly gone? Are they ashes in a French landfill? Or are they hanging on the wall of a bunker in Russia? Or a vault in Saudi Arabia? Ville was the Spider-Man who stole canvas. But our next case involves a different kind of spider, one made of chrome and steel. How did they vanish with a retro Alfa Romeo Spider valued at over $20 million? Click here to watch that video now. Do you believe Jonathan Byrne? Did he really throw $100 million in the trash? Let me know in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe for more case files. Until then, keep your windows locked.